concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
Maya he, Maya ha, Maya he, Maya ha 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 ha, Maya he, Maya ha. It's really hard to do that with your own voice in your ear, kind of monitoring you at a delay. It's very difficult. That's right. It's the Numa Numa guy. Numa Numa. One of the very first viral videos, I think, to ever exist. I can sing it. There's no copyright strike. What's up, guys? Welcome to the live stream. It is Sunday. I got my drink. What am I drinking today? Oh man. I got my drink. For the kids out there, it's iced tea. For the adults out there, it's a different kind of iced tea. No! No! Please just push the wrong button. I spend so much time thinking about my lighting. I gotta tell you guys, it's ridiculous how much time I spend thinking about my lighting and comparing my lighting to other people's lighting setup. I was on Ken Heron's live stream this Thursday with a gentleman who just put me to shame. Hang on, I'm gonna show you something. Hang on. Where's this guy? Where's this? I don't need that. Yeah, look at this guy. Look at this guy. Hang on. Let me find the right. Where's he zoomed in? No, it's just us three. Okay. Look at this guy. Look at his amazing lighting. Look how good his lighting is. Christ. Look, it's so colorful. Purple and oh my goodness gracious. So impressed. I gotta up my game. Let me tell you what. Here's the problem. I'll use my room camera you can see the problem. The problem is that the way the pros really do it is they'll have a light over there with a light box and like a big pro light, but this is a wall. Like, I'm not going to cut a freaking hole in the wall to get a proper lighting. So the lighting that I have has to basically be mounted here, and I feel like that restricts me some. But maybe like add more lighting? I don't know. But I wish my lighting looked as good as his. But this is what we're going to go with. Hello, guys. Bounce the light off the wall. Yeah, I tried that. Part of the problem is, like, I have my whole room is monotone. Right? It's just all one color. Brown with like a beige carpet, you know, adding a little bit of, I don't know. That's like so low on my list of things to think about, but there you go. Oh, unfortunately, thank you, Anthony. My lighting, I feel like my lighting is not bad. I've had bad lighting before. I feel like I've got it like basically there, but like I look at like the real pro. Like, here's another guy. Welcome to the live stream, guys. Welcome to the live stream. This is it. We'll get to the actual live streamy things, you know, eventually. I'm just gonna screw around for a minute. This guy, I like his channel a lot. He has a photography channel, and obviously he has a photography channel. He is very good at lighting. But like, where's a good scene of him? This is his, not this studio. I guess he's got a different studio set up now than he used to. But yeah, look at, I'm not going to play his content. This actually is probably not the best scene. This looks kind of no copy strikes. This looks kind of underexposed, to be honest with you. Yeah, no, okay, well, I feel better. But anyway. Oh. Thank you, Fly High FPV. I appreciate it. You know, you're here for the knowledge, but I care about making it look good. Yeah, stream stuttering. Stream is clean. No dropped frames. And everybody's looking good. Top-mounted softbox for fill. Interesting. So what you're suggesting is that I mount a softbox here and aim it that way, pointing at the wall and bouncing off the wall. That's interesting. That is interesting. Oh, he has a soft, but no, I know. Yeah. So like, I know that the answer would be to use a softbox, a big freaking softbox. And the other problem is I'm too close. So like let me open up the camera a little more. I open up the camera a little bit. Oh, that's the wrong direction. I open up the camera a little bit. That's as far as it'll go. I get hot spots on my face. So normally I underexpose it and fix it in post, but it doesn't work when I'm live. Anyway. How hot is my room? They're LED lights. They don't get that hot, so it's no big deal. Yeah, so what Drew told me to do is shoot diagonally into the room. And it looks really good, but my desk just isn't set up that way. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Welcome to the live stream, you guys. Let me show you what I got going on here. This is my main screen, my control panel, and when is Fat Shark Attitude V6 going to be released? There are already some product pages up, so yeah, that should be any day now. Yeah, Tyler Harris, you're onto something. One of the things is that if I make my key lights any brighter, I am just blinded by them. So I cannot make my key lights any brighter because I have to sit here for 2 hours with the key lights on. So anyway, maybe colored lighting in the background. Anyway, this is what I spend my time thinking about, though. I was into photography before I got into drones. When I was in my 20s. Hang on, you guys will like this. Let's make sure all of these are okay to put on the live stream, because we wouldn't want that. Okay, I think they are all okay to put on a live stream. Why wouldn't they be okay? I used to be into photography. This is an old like just a couple of albums of mine. Hey, Nelson, BC. This is from a trip to Nelson where I visited my aunt. That's well, you know, something abstract. I used to like abstracts. That's a cat. Okay, hydrangea. Oh yes, yes, I like that. There's a good picture of a hydrangea. I like hydrangeas. Anyway, some abstract stuff. Did a little editing on that one. Anyway, so I think a lot about lighting. All right. Here's my main screen. Welcome to the live stream. I will be answering your questions. I'll be answering your questions here in the chat. How do I get my T-shirt sent from EU? Says Mr. Sir Norway. Mr. Sir Norway. I apologize, Mr. Sir Norway. So I gave you the wrong information in a previous stream. So I have a Teespring store. There's actually a link to one of the T-shirts at the Teespring store up at the top of the chat. I pinned it. It's this design. Thank you, 0.1. And you can buy the shirts priced in euros. You can buy them in euros, which I assumed meant that they were shipping from the EU, but it turns out they aren't. A person from the previous stream asked me, and I said, yeah, they ship from the EU. And he bought the shirt, and it shipped from the US, and he ended up paying like $80 for this freaking shirt when shipping and customs were integrated. And I was like, geez, I'm sorry, and I offered to refund him. He declined, but I felt bad about it. So if you're in the EU, Teespring doesn't ship from... There's some way to make Teespring ship from the EU, but I don't know what it is. So... Am I going to sell more of those toe picks? No. If you want to ask a question in the chat, be my guest, and I will do my best to answer them. But a lot of them will go by too quickly for me to see. So another thing you can do is be a patron, and you can join these lovely people in the Discord server. After the live stream, we're going to be playing some Among Us as well. I'm doing good, Cyclimbo. Thank you. And also, you can throw a super chat. Sean Evans, thank you for a $10 super chat. I will get to your question in just a minute. Oh, no question. Just thank you for your content. Thank you, Sean Evans. You can hit that $sign right down here and leave a super chat. That's what we're going to do for a couple hours. Have you heard of ExpressLRS? Tilan Kovac. Yes, I have. ExpressLRS, if you don't know what that is, it is a high-performance control link that runs on FreeSky R9 hardware. So basically, if you have old FreeSky R9 modules or old receivers, you can flash ExpressLRS onto the hardware, and it works better. Some people would say it works better. It certainly has higher performance in terms of latency. It has like, I think there's a 2.4 gigahertz version of it that you can flash to an RxSR, and it goes up to, I think, like 500 hertz, maybe even 1 kilohertz. The 900 megahertz version, I think it goes up to 200 hertz. And, you know, just a high performance, low latency link. So that's pretty cool. But you have to flash it. And I think today you actually have to compile it yourself, which is going to be a stumbling block for a lot of people. But they are making it more and more accessible. It used to be that you had to use a weird programming adapter that a lot of people don't have to flash it. And then once you flashed it, you could never go back to FreeSky. And now you can flash it just by flashing firmware the same as you flash other firmware on your radio. You don't need a weird programming adapter. And, yeah. Does it outperform Crossfire Ghost Tracer? Well, FPV Wannabe, that is a tough question. First of all, Crossfire is in a league of its own. Crossfire goes up to 2 watts, depending on the unit. Depending on the radio and the module you have, it may go up only to 500 milliwatts on the Tango 2. It goes up to 1 watt on the Crossfire micro module and 2 watts on the full module. It's hard to argue with 2 watts. The difference between ExpressLRS and Crossfire is Crossfire uses low-Ra technology, low-Ra, which is this extremely sensitive, extremely long-range technology. Crossfire uses LoRa for 50 hertz only. But when you go to 150 hertz low latency race mode, Crossfire switches away from LoRa. And the reason is that the bandwidth that would be used by LoRa is too much for the 900 megahertz band. It wouldn't be legal to use. ExpressLRS gets around this through some trickery. I don't mean trickery in a bad way. I think one of the things ExpressLRS does is that I think they give up telemetry, first of all, so that saves them some bandwidth. And I believe they transmit the 4 main control channels high frequency, and they transmit the aux channels at a lower frequency. I'm not 100% sure of that, but that's what I've heard. And that means that ExpressLRS can stay using LoRa even up to 200 hertz. So there is no question that ExpressLRS should beat Crossfire watt for watt at the high frequency race mode. The flip side, though, is that Crossfire can go up to 2 watts. Well, I guess ExpressLRS can go up to 1 watt because that's what R9 modules do. I would expect ExpressLRS to beat Crossfire in high frequency race mode. Crossfire 160 hertz, I think, maybe 150 hertz, and LoRa 200-ish hertz. Chaotic in the Discord posted this very helpful chart. Let's put this chart here on screen. Hold on. ExpressLRS 500 hertz latency, 5 milliseconds. That's 2.4 gigahertz only. ExpressLRS 250 hertz. That's 200.4 gigahertz again, 8 millisecond latency. Bear in mind, these 2.4 gigahertz are not LoRa. That is just a RXSR receiver. So this is not going to have super duper amazing range, but it is lower latency, and that's nice. 900 megahertz, ExpressLRS running on R9 hardware, 200 hertz, 10 millisecond latency. Crossfire 150 hertz, but much lower range. That's the key. 11 millisecond latency, and so on. Worth pointing out, everybody talks about Crossfire, one of the advantages of Crossfire being its low latency. And that is true as long as you're in 150 hertz mode. But a lot of people don't realize just how quickly Crossfire will switch out of 150 hertz mode, and then how long it takes to go back to 50 hertz, or 50 hertz. Yeah. How quickly it switches out of 150 hertz to 50 hertz, and then how long it takes to go back. If you have Betaflight 4.2, you can put the LQ in the on-screen display, and it'll read something like 2:100, and that 2 is your RF mode. When that says 2:100, that means you're at 150 hertz. When it says 1: whatever, that means you're at 50 hertz. So if you put that in your OSD and fly, you may be surprised at how often it drops to 50 hertz. And this, I've got such low latency, Crossfire's such low latency, is actually not true. I lock all of my Crossfire receivers, well, not my long-range ones. For the long-range 4 inches that you see back on the bench, I don't do this. But for all my freestyle and racing quads, I lock the Crossfire receiver to 150 hertz. And that means that I get much lower range, but instead of being, 10 kilometers, it's like 2 kilometers. It's more than my video, and it's fine, and I get consistent low latency. But if you assume that Crossfire always gives you both great range and low latency, you're probably wrong. It's usually giving you one of those at a time. Up close, it gives you great latency, and then as you fly away, it switches and gives you poor latency. Well, normal latency, let's say, because 26 millisecond latency, that's about what a FreeSky RXSR using S-Bus will do. And that is why everybody's so excited about Tracer and Ghost. So we've talked about Tracer and Ghost on the channel before. I talked about it in one of the news segments with Blunty. I do have a Tracer unit on order. People are asking, when is your Tracer test coming? TBS didn't. I don't know. So, sometimes TBS is like, hey, how about we send you this product? Yes, yay. I got the TBS multi-protocol module before anybody did. I got to do a launch day video about it. I was like, yay. But then Tracer came out, and I was like, hey, I would love to be making content about this. So I don't know. Whatever. I've got it. It's ordered. Whenever it comes, I'll test it. But The interesting thing about Tracer, Lost in the Electrical Aisle says, Ghost is now dead with Tracer. I disagree. I think you're wrong, and I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. But I'm also going to tell you why you might be right. Here's why you're wrong. Tracer only does... What's the frickin' name of the encoding? Hang on. What's the name of the modulation technique that Tracer uses? Hold on. I got to look up the... it's in the show notes. Or if you guys get it in the chat first, I'll take it from there. I think it's in the... Is it in the November 17th show notes? No. It's in the November 10th show notes. No. It's even before that. Shoot. Mavlink. No. Hang on. I got it. It's FLRC. Okay. So Tracer uses FLRC modulation, it's believed. And that lets them get, what is it? What's the modulation for Tracer? Is it 200 hertz? That lets them get high speed, low latency with decent range, but not like spectacular range. But here is why Ghost is appealing and I think deserves attention. Ghost uses LoRa for everything. And that means that it is, all else being equal, going to have 250 hertz. Thank you guys for correcting that. That means that all else being equal, Ghost is going to have better range than Tracer because LoRa is just so much more sensitive than the FLRC encoding or modulation used by Tracer. But when Ghost goes to 222 hertz race mode, it has to turn off telemetry because it runs out of bandwidth. So Tracer can do 250 hertz with telemetry. Oh, that's good. But here's the thing. Ghost can do that too. They're using the exact same chipset, it's believed. That they're using the exact same chipset. There is a firmware right now that Immersion RC test pilots are testing because Immersion RC went, you guys want FLRC at 250 hertz with latency? You like Tracer? Okay. And boom, just firmware update, and Ghost can do it too now. But here's the thing. So anything that Tracer does in terms of clever modulation techniques to balance out range versus latency, Immersion RC can just do a firmware change and say, okay, you guys like that? Be my guest. But here's the thing. Why doesn't Tracer do LoRa in 2.4 gigahertz? Because FLRC encoding has great latency, has telemetry, all those good things, but it has significantly shorter range than LoRa. And I think the reason is that TBS doesn't want Tracer to compete with Crossfire. This is pure speculation. But because they could... TBS could just, with a firmware update, boom, now Tracer can do LoRa. And you could get a 50 hertz, 50, 60, whatever kilometer range out of Tracer. Why didn't they do that? It's just a firmware update. And I think it's because they don't want to compete with their own. They want Crossfire to be for long distance pilots, and they want Tracer to be for high performance racing pilots. And they don't want those two things to compete. But Ghost does no such conflict of interest. Immersion RC is happy to give you both an ultra long range LoRa at like 50. They have a long distance mode that's like 15 hertz and can go super sensitivity. So Ghost is not dead as far as with Tracer, in my opinion. Obviously, you will fly them, and obviously this is all theoretical. This is all on paper. Ultimately, you'll fly them and you'll decide which one you like the best. But I don't think Ghost is dead because TBS has an inherent conflict of interest. They cannot afford to let Tracer eat too much market share away from Crossfire. And that is, in my opinion, why they did not open up LoRa mode on Tracer, even though they absolutely could have with a simple firmware update. It would have been trivial. And Ghost is willing to do that. Ghost can do ultra long range, 10, 50, 60, whatever kilometers. It can do ultra low latency, and whatever Tracer does with FLRC encoding, Ghost can do that too. So, now, does that mean Ghost is better than Crossfire? Hang on. All you TBS fans, don't jump down my throat. I am a massive fan of Crossfire. Crossfire is such a mature ecosystem. The firmware is mature. It is bug-free. It is rock solid. It is reliable. It is so easy to live with. Crossfire is amazing. And Ghost is still working out launch day bugs. They just released a thing saying, as of this firmware, this bug with SRXL2 is finally fixed. Ghost protocol is still not in beta flight. It's in a nightly build. So, am I saying that? I'm saying just from a pure performance perspective, if you look at Tracer and go, Ghost is dead, I don't think you know what you're talking about. Tyler Harris says, can Ghost do all of that now? Or will it need to be unlocked in a future update? It will be unlocked in so right now, Ghost only does low RAW, which means that when Ghost goes to 222 hertz, the very fast, there's 160 hertz Ghost mode that has telemetry and low RAW. But when it goes to the very fastest, lowest latency mode, it turns off telemetry. And that is a place where Tracer beats it. But the thing is that with a firmware update, Ghost can just unlock the same modulation method that Tracer is using and potentially give similar performance. Obviously, in the real world, the build and so forth of the unit affects the range, but now Archimedes has a good point. At some point, could TBS decide that they're going to let Tracer become their main product and open up low RAW? Absolutely. In the same way that I say, whatever Tracer does, Immersion RC could do the exact same thing with Ghost because they have the exact same chipset. That is also true of Tracer. TBS could absolutely open up low RAW modes and compete with Ghost. They're using the same hardware, so it's just what they decide to do. But the fact that they haven't done it certainly is... Skadoosh asks, isn't low RAW far more susceptible to noise and has less penetration? No, I don't think that's true at all. The big advantage of low RAW is that it is very resistant to noise and it can be picked out from a noisy environment with extremely well. On paper, the sensitivity of low RAW modulation, I'm looking at the specs for the chipset. On paper, the sensitivity is like negative 135, no, negative 106 to negative 117 dBm. Whereas if you compare that to FLRC, it is at best 106 dBm. So the worst low RAW sensitivity is equivalent to the best FLRC sensitivity. And 900 megahertz. 900 megahertz obviously has a lot of advantages, although if you're in Europe, you probably don't think that, because in Europe, the 900 megahertz band is super small. I think a European pilot, people in the United States who are considering Crossfire versus Tracer, there's an argument that the additional latency of Tracer is desirable, maybe so, but I think a lot of typical pilots won't care about that. In the United States, the 900 megahertz band is wide enough. There's not a huge compelling reason to use 2.4 gig. The smaller antennas are nice. But in Europe, where the 868 band is so small, I think Tracer is going to be much more compelling. Mr. Huggy points out Tracer is currently working at 100 milliwatts, but it can go up to 1 watt in the future. No reason. I mean, according to, so that's an interesting point. Trappy accused Ghost of Ghost's 350 milliwatt mode. He said it's actually 500 milliwatts, which I thought was a weird thing for him to say, because that's like saying, that's like a Chevy engineer coming out and saying, you know, the new Mustang is faster than the Camaro, but that's because they advertise it as having 500 horsepower, but really it has 750. Okay. Why would you, as a manufacturer, advertise that your competitor is outputting more power than they say? Consumers be like, okay, cool. How dare they? But Tony Cake came back and said the amplifier in the Ghost would not handle 500 milliwatts, so it can't be true. But Tracer has been advertised, hinted that it could go up to 1 watt. So in theory, in the future, maybe some of that difference will close. Anyway, I think it's really interesting. I love this competition. Somebody in the comments said it's like a Ford versus Ferrari competition. I love it. Two companies with two strong personalities at the helm, both determined to beat the other. That can only be good for the consumer, right? But people here's what bugs me. People, when Ghost came out, Crossfire fans were like, 2.4 gigahertz, give me a break. 900 megahertz is awesome. You guys, look at this guy putting out a 2.4 gigahertz system. What, Tracer's here? Oh my God, this is so good. It's like, okay. Anyway. ZFPV says, at some point, latency will hit a wall. By the way, I'm going to get the super chats soon. I see I've got a bunch of super chats. Hang in there. Thank you, super chatters. At some point, latency will hit a wall. The motors can only respond so fast. ZFPV, the thing to keep in mind is that latency is a loop. This is something I've talked about before, and I've seen now that Tracer is here, suddenly people seem to be talking about this. You think about the control loop latency and all of the parts of it. Let's break it down. You move the sticks. The controller reads the stick position. That takes time. The controller outputs the stick position or the channel value to the module. The module transmits the value, the channel value, to the receiver. The receiver outputs the channel value to the flight controller. The flight controller outputs a change in the motor throttle. The motor changes speed. The quadcopter begins to move. The camera picks up the movement of the quadcopter. That has some latency. The camera transmits that back to the video transmitter. The video transmitter sends the signal back to your goggles. The goggles display the image. Every step has some latency. And it is the sum total of that latency that determines your perceived experience. Any subtraction from any part of that improves the latency for you, and any addition makes it worse. So when you say that Tracer saves you 2 milliseconds, it is true that the motors can only respond so fast, but it is not true that the limited response speed of the motors or the display or the camera, any subtraction from any part of that control loop is an improvement. And that's why some people are saying, I went from Crossfire to Tracer and now DJI is kind of okay. Think about that. If DJI has 35 millisecond latency and Crossfire has 25 millisecond latency, and then, back up. Let's say you've got an analog camera with, well, analog cameras also typically have less than 35 millisecond. It kind of doesn't make sense. The point is that if you have a higher latency video link, but an ultra low latency control link, you could kind of cancel that out a little bit, I guess is the argument. Okay, let me get some super chats. Thank you guys who are leaving the super chats. Sean Evans, I got your $10 super chat. Thank you very much. Jake Sloan, thank you for a $5 super chat. Jake Sloan, I told Ken to give you my number to talk lighting. Oh, yes. I'm going to learn about lighting. The only problem is every time somebody gives me lighting advice, I go, yeah, but here are all the reasons I don't want to do that. And then I don't do it. Bubba Belair, thank you for a $5 super chat. Can you do a review video on the TBS tracker system? Probably not. That's like a GPS tracker or something. I don't do a lot of long-range content. Music, thank you for your super chat, though. Music Monkey, thanks for a $5 super chat. Suggestions for people who get motion sickness from FPV. Some people get motion sick when they use like a Fat Shark style goggle. You may do better if you have like a screen or a box style goggle. That's one thing to suggest. Also, just practice can get you over it. Also, some people will do better sitting down than standing up. Other people do better standing up than sitting down. And personally, I can do it pretty much anyway now. But I did go through a phase where what I really prefer to do is stand up and lean on something. So try those things. It's Darts. Thank you for a $5 super chat. Are you going to do a video for updating firmware on the TBS multi-protocol module? Flash multi won't recognize my module even. Okay, no. It's Darts. Back up. I already did a video. It's the same as any other multi-protocol module. Don't use Flash multi. You don't need it. Flash multi is only needed if you don't have a bootloader on your module. You have a bootloader on your module. It's very easy. No, where's my video? There we go. I'm not linking to Pavel Spakowski. So you want this video. This is how to do the update. Let me just put this in the chat for you. And what you need to know, though, is the firmware type to select. I think it's Radio Master. So I show the shush. Where's the little thing? Hang on. There it is. So what you need is this. You need to go and download this firmware, Radio Master, yada, yada, yada. You need inversion. This is incorrect. You need inverted, not inverted. Everything else is correct, though. Okay? So select this, download this firmware, and then flash it using the technique shown in that video. And you just put the firmware on your SD card and you flash it from there. It's very easy. Keith Moore, thanks for a $15 super chat. Right now I only fly tiny whoops. Would the 533 Tiny Trainer be a good quad to start learning acro? Trying to stay under 250 grams. The Tiny Trainer is incredibly durable. That's a thing that it brings to the table. I would not suggest flying it indoors unless you are flying in a very big environment. The main thing, I mean, it's fast and it flies well, but a thing that I think it brings for a beginner is its durability. So yeah, I guess it would be a good quad to start learning acro. Adam Smith, thanks for £5. Oblivion Products, thanks for $10. Love the videos, helped get me into FPV during quarantine. I bought a Diatone Mamba F722 and flight controller power's on, but the power isn't making it to the 5-volt pads. So if you're plugging it into USB, it's normal that the 5-volt pads don't power up. Most flight controllers will have one 5-volt pad that powers up for the receiver from USB. But other than that, they don't power it from USB. If you are feeding it VBAT and it's powering up, but the 5-volt pads aren't turning on, then I am confused, because if the 5-volt regulator was dead, then the flight controller wouldn't turn on at all. So I'm a little confused about what's going on here. Sai, thank you for $5 super chat. Is there any bind and fly competitive race drone you recommend for someone new to racing? I think the Emax Hawk, or Hawk Pro are a really good bind and fly racing drone. They're like legit good for racing. However, I have heard some people reporting that they had like popped ESCs on the Hawk Pro. I don't know how widespread that is, but that's a direction I would steer you. Alexander Romanenko, thanks for $2. Check out the kit website. Kit, I'm afraid I'm going to need a little more information. Sean Powell, thanks for $5. Ben T, thanks for $10. I bought some click chart chairs for FPV, light and good quality, and I don't fall over. What's a click chair? Let's look that up. Sturdy, comfortable, portable chair. Oh, yeah, I've seen people using these. Yeah, this is nice. That's nice. $90. Ooh, better be good for $90, but okay. And they even come in my favorite color. Dan Cushing, thanks for $5. Brian C, thanks for $5. Trying to learn acro FPV on a sim. Every time I make a turn, I end up angled towards the sky. What am I doing wrong? You are turning with yaw only, and you are not adding roll to cross coordinate. That's what you're doing wrong. You need to have roll and yaw pushing the same direction to coordinate the turn. Ben Thompson, thank you for £2. Do you have a recommended module for GPS rescue? I think the BN220 or the BN880 are good choices. I don't like the BN180. I think it's not very good. It dies too easily, and it's very prone to interference. Yeah, so I don't think so. Also, iFlight makes one. Maybe it's good. Maytech also makes one that's probably pretty good. So. Crispy FPV must be watching the replay. He says this intro music is better than the last one. I think he's watching the replay. Tim J. Howitz is responding to... Who asked that question? Luciano V. Luciano wants to know 4S or 6S? 6S with throttle limited for longer flights, or just 6S and send it forever? You're thinking about getting the Nazgul 5. I think what I say about 4S versus 6S is that 6S has better performance, but only slightly. And 6S, all else being equal, is more likely to pop an ESC. If you have a 6S rated ESC that's good up to, let's say, 35 volts, and you're running it at 25 volts, you're closer to the edge than if you're running it at 16 volts. So I think for beginners, there's an argument to be made that you won't notice the slight performance disadvantage of 4S, but you're going to get easier PID tuning and more longevity on your ESCs by going with 4S. There's also an argument that you just screw it, just get 6S and never look back. Both valid arguments. I don't think you need to limit the throttle though. Just buy the correct kV motors for the battery that you're planning on using. Sam Jones wants to know, with my new HD2s, I'm getting some blurring on the bottom left and right of the screen. It is just the 50-degree field of view, Sam Jones. The HD2s have a 50-degree field of view, which is a massive image. For the longest time, I flew HD2s, even after the HDO came out, because that giant field of view was so nice. But a downside of that is if your eye is not just perfectly placed in the optics, you're going to see blurry edges, and there's just not a lot of ways around that. Some people use -2 diopters to compress the screen just a little, and it fixes it. There's only so much you can do, though. Sam Jones, I would consider getting -2 diopters, especially because you say your prescription is actually -2.5 and -2.75. Yeah, get -2 diopters. You can get a set of diopters for about $20. It comes with -2, -4, and -6. Try the -2 diopters and then try the -4 diopters and see if you like what that does. Tom Tingley wants to know, thank you for a $5 super chat. Tom, do you know if liftoff on PS4 will support hobby transmitters? Tom, the liftoff devs have said they acknowledge that the community very much wants that and that they will try to make that happen. Whether it will happen, who knows? We know that the DCL simulator uses transmitters, so presumably liftoff can also do it, at least on PlayStation. Xbox is apparently harder to do, but they are going to try to do it. Oblivion Products, thanks for $10 super chat. It was receiving VBAT and power made it to the flight controller, but not past that. Tested with a multimeter. No power to the 5-volt pad. Have you measured all the 5-volt pads, Oblivion? Like, could it be that, like, one 5-volt pad is bad? It just doesn't make sense, because if the 5-volt regulator was dead, the flight controller wouldn't power up. So you must have 5 volts. It's just weird that it's not making it to the pads. Maybe there's, like, some kind of a solder bridge or something you need to be bridging to output 5 volts. I don't know. Thank you for your generous super chats. Trace Gray, thank you for a $5 super chat. First of all, thanks for helping out on my TCMM F4 flight controller. Now I'm getting no VTX. Trace Gray, what do you mean by no VTX? It's not powering up? If your VTX doesn't power up, the first thing I would do is get a multimeter, test the power pad for the VTX, and see if it's outputting voltage. We're coming to the end of the drink, folks. Rapid fire or clear view? I don't know what to buy for my goggles, Thomas Nagel. Rapid fire. The clear view module, in my opinion, did not perform well enough to justify its price, and I don't think it performed better than the rapid fire. 507RC says only 45 minutes in and the drink is already empty. I mean, that's about half the drink. It's maybe a quarter. I'm getting down to the cherries. Yashin Alapat, GPS rescue, allow arming without fix. It's not working. Betaflight is saying that the name is invalid. Could you be on an older version of Betaflight? And it doesn't support that. That's my guess. Oblivion Production says, I checked all the pads, none received power. It makes no sense. I mean, I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you, but it doesn't add up. It's the Diatone Mamba F722. Let's look at this flight controller and see if there's any insight here into what's going on. Let's see here. Where's the... Is this the full-size image? Thank God. What I'm looking for is any kind of... Oh, hey, how about that? How nice. They have freaking Oh, that's beautiful. So check this out. So they have status LEDs here for the freaking... That is amazing. Diatone, you're killing it. I love Diatone's flight controllers so much. They have status LEDs for the 9 volt, the 5 volt, 3.3 volt, and the battery voltage rail. That's amazing. Can you tell me the status of those, Oblivion? Pavel Spakowski says there might be a separate BEC for 5 volt and for 3.3 volt MCU logic. Yeah, no, that's true, Pavel. But in my, I mean, Alan can only speak from my experience. In my experience, the 3.3 volt is usually fed from the 5 volt. So it goes VBAT to the 5 volt regulator, 5 volt to the 3.3 volt regulator. I think because maybe having a 3.3 volt regulator rated for 26 volts would be challenging. I don't know. I'm not a flight control designer and you are, so I should probably just shut up and let you talk. Yeah. So in my experience, even though the MCU, the controller, the processor, runs off of 3.3 volts, if the 5 volt regulator dies, the flight controller dies. Yeah, it's possible, Pavel. So check these LEDs though, Oblivion. What does the 5 volt light up? I really love that they did this too. This is so thoughtful to have these, so useful for troubleshooting. ESCs should have these too. Now, let's just be clear, Oblivion. We're talking about from VBAT, not from USB. It would be totally normal for them not to be powered from USB, but I think you said it's powered from VBAT. Let's see here. Chris Cameo, thank you for $5 super chat. Have you changed any of your settings from your best GoPro settings vid from 2 years ago? Right now, my GoPro settings. Oh, look here. No, that's a Hero 6. That's not the one I wanted. Those I don't use for flying. Well, anyway, my GoPro settings 2.7K 30, I think is the best balance of bitrate and image quality. If you're using a Hero 8 or a Hero 9, they go up to 100 megabits per second. So I'm going to do this from memory, so I apologize if I get it wrong. But on the Hero 7, you get like 75 megabits per second bitrate max. So at 2.7K resolution, I think it's like 60 megabits per second. And at 4K resolution, it's like 75 megabits per second, which is not enough for the kind of fast motion that FPV flying uses. So I don't think there's a point in going 4K on a Hero 7 unless you're doing like slow, maybe for slow, smooth cinematic stuff, it would work. But you just get so many more bits per pixel on 2.7K that I think it makes more sense. On the Hero 8 and the Hero 9, they go up to 100 megabits per second for 4K, and it could make sense. But the files are humongous, so I'm not sure. I still might not do it, but Yashin, if you are on Betaflight 4.2 and that GPS rescue arming without fix is still not working, my guess is you're typing it in wrong. Or you have an F3 processor and it doesn't support GPS at all. Those are some things. So GoPro settings. I shoot 2.7K 30, super view. You gotta be in super view for freestyle, sure, for freestyle, definitely. I manually set the white balance. You don't want the white balance changing in the middle of a flight. Don't use auto white balance. I manually set it. Typically for outdoors, it's either 4,500 or 5,000 Kelvin. Looks the best. You can always do a little bit of grading in post, but you want fixed white balance. I lock the ISO at 400. I used to lock the ISO at 100 because that gives the most motion blur. But I learned that the GoPro sensor's native ISO is 400. And I haven't tested this, but I read that you get maximum dynamic range at the native resolution of the sensor. So I set it to 400 to get the best dynamic range. And then I'll use an ND filter. I use camera butter ND filters because they stick on the front and it's easy to add them. If I want more motion blur, I use the ND filter. Let's see, ISO. And then shutter speed is set to auto, obviously. Because you just can't lock the shutter speed and have proper exposure throughout a whole flight. Anyway, there you go. Grant Marshall wants to know when I last updated my shopping list page. Grant, the shopping list page is continually updated. I have been, you can see here, this is my Trello board. This is not public, but if we look at the edits here in the done column, you can see it's being updated constantly, right? I guess there's no dates on these, so you can't see, but it's being updated constantly. I actually have started, Blunty, who's been helping me with the news live streams. I say helping me. He actually is mostly producing that segment, so credit where credit's due. I've always wanted to do a news stream, right? But like I have these ideas and I pile work on myself and then I get overloaded and I can't do it all. And then I feel bad because I haven't followed through. So I was like, I want to do news, and then Blunty came along and I was like, listen, can you produce a news stream, a news content for me? Like once a week we do a news. I send him stuff sometimes if I see stuff that I like, but basically his job is to come up with 1 hour's worth of news every week. And then he makes show notes. And like the day of the show, I open up the content and I look, oh, here's the show notes. And we figure out what order we're going to do it in. And then we just do the live stream. And I'm like, yeah, this is great. So he's awesome. Another thing he's helping me with is reviewing the website. My website is fpvknowitall.com. A lot of you probably already know that. But in case you didn't, it's home of the ultimate FPV shopping list. Oh, with all my product recommendations, including the DJI high-definition digital FPV system, ready to fly bind and fly drones. This picture really has too much dead space on the left. I gotta fix that. So you want to know what the flight controller I recommend? Just check in here and ba-bam! Here are my recommended flight controllers. So once a month, he goes through and he looks at all this stuff and says, well, there's this new motor that's out that we got to look at and so forth, and helps keep it updated. So yeah, it's continually updated. It is a challenge. It's a challenge to keep the website updated because, hang on a second, we're coming down to the cherries. I didn't want both cherries. I wanted separate cherries. Hang on a second. Okay, sorry, I muted that so you didn't have to hear me chewing on the cherries. Brandon J, no word on DJI goggles going on sale for Black Friday. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen, just means I don't know about it. So it's a real challenge keeping the website updated because, like, just because a new product comes out doesn't mean it's going to get on the website. I want the website to be products you can count on, and you can know that if you get them, you're going to have a good experience. And so a brand new motor comes out and you go, oh, this motor looks really good. It's probably better, but that doesn't mean it gets on the website. So it's really challenging to keep the website like not looking out of date while still keeping it reliable. Everybody on the stream loves Blunty. Blunty's pretty awesome. He's pretty awesome. Just snatch him up. I'm very happy he's helping with the news. I think it's really good content. Oh, which long range quad to buy? Mazer. That video is done. I apologize that that's taken longer than I would have hoped. I can show you it's literally done. It is uploaded and it's ready to go. I just need to do I'm pretty sure I've even done the freaking links. No, I haven't done the links there. But I have to do a freaking photo. And the problem is that my editor, I have a guy who edits most of my videos. He does like a 95% edit, and then I watch the video and sometimes I tweak it a little bit. But he does most of the editing, and he's been on vacation for Thanksgiving. So he has been gone all week, and I have been really appreciating the amount of work he puts in because I've been doing it all now, and that means that all my stuff is taking longer than I wish it would. So that video, I'm going to release it like maybe even today. I wanted to release it Friday. It's ready to go. And if you were on my mailing list or if you were a patron, then you saw a preview of the results. And you would know which one to buy. Entercar68, thank you for a €5 super chat. What are your thoughts about the Racer Star F7 all-in-one? I am very skeptical about all-in-one flight controller and ESC combos. However, hang on. There are these toothpick style ones in the 25mm form factor. These are good as long as you're building an ultra lightweight 5-inch or smaller. These seem to do okay. Especially like the iFlight Beast is ridiculous. It's just a ridiculously well-designed piece of hardware. But there's beta FPV ones. There's some from a company called JHEMCU. These are okay for small builds. When you get up to a 5-inch build, though, I am so skeptical. I'm so skeptical, especially... Here, we'll go to Oscar Leong's review. Especially when you get a company like Racer Star, which is not exactly known for the highest standards of durability and build quality. Now, Racer Star has had an F4-based all-in-one for a while, and it's been okay. So maybe the F7 is okay, too. But personally, like, look at how Thank you, Oscar, for this photo. Look at how how they've placed the pads. Isn't that so annoying? You gotta get in here and solder. I think you really gotta want this. And then at the end of the day, how much is it? $60. Well, $60 for an ESC and a flight controller is kind of compelling. Yeah, maybe. I think there's a place for it. But I wouldn't, recommend it. I acknowledge that it is right for some people. Mighty FPV got my Runcam Phoenix 2. What size lens would you need for a replacement? Mighty FPV, it's M12 threads, but the actual focal length, I don't know off the top of my head. Runcam sells a replacement lens for it, and I would look at that. Synthetic in the Discord says Robert Landrum, and Robert Landrum's another one of my patrons and a YouTuber, makes good content. They were going to try the iFlight Beast H7 on a 7-inch. Wow. Yeah. Baller. Aber the Ham, thanks for a $5 super chat. I'm running 5S on a 7-inch long range, 1850 kV, 2507 motor. I had individual ESCs with 520 microfarad caps. I'm switching to a 4-in-1 ESC. How should I put caps on it? How much capacitance? Aber, I am a strong believer that 1,000 microfarads should be enough for almost anybody. If you're talking about like a beast class, okay. Like on my 12S beast class, there's a 1,000 microfarad capacitor, 50 volts, I believe. Better be more than 50 volts. I guess they know. There's a 1,000 microfarad capacitor on each ESC for a total of 4,000 microfarads. But I think for a typical quadcopter, but maybe as much as 2,000 microfarads is enough. Like currently you've got 2,000 microfarads. I think that's plenty. I think you probably could do with less. If you have the space on the build and you want to have some insurance, get a 50 volt, 2,000 microfarad. And the most important thing is that you put it as close to the ESC as possible. So the best thing to do is to install it right on the XT60 pads. The next best thing to do is to have a short length of wire and solder that wire directly to the XT60 pads. The further you get it away from the ESC, the worse it performs. But I would say 1,000 to 2,000 microfarads, 50 volt ESC, probably, or 50 volt, probably fine. Durzo FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. Banggood has Klarma buy now, pay later with the Radiomaster TX16S Max. Should I bother with Klarma? I have no idea. Buy now, pay later? I don't know. Anytime you buy now, pay later, you're going to pay a fee, right? You're going to pay interest. I think that if you're buying FPV gear on a loan, you should just not buy it and wait. It's not worth it. Like if you're buying a house or you're buying a car, or if you just need a kidney for your dog right now, sorry about your dog, then yeah, take out a loan. But if you want a new controller, no, just save up your money till you have cash. And if you can't, then don't buy it. I don't know what Klarma is. Maybe I've completely misinterpreted it. Yeah, Kebab F. Mr. Huggy in the Discord says Kebab FPV is impressed with the iFlight Beast. He's impressed with it. Yeah, you know who else is impressed with the iFlight Beast? Dominic Clifton, Mr. Clean Flight, messaged me and was like, this iFlight Beast looks pretty good. And that's high praise coming from him because he hates everyone's flight controller except his own. I'm exaggerating a little bit. But Dominic Clifton, let's put it in a positive way. Dominic Clifton, he's the maker of the SP Racing flight controllers. He takes a lot of pride in his designs. He takes a lot of pride in the quality of his flight controllers. And he notices that a lot of other people don't do some of the things that are recommended to be done. Like one of them that comes to mind is that the data sheet for the InvenSense gyro that we use says that you're supposed to have a certain capacitor put right next to the gyro, and a lot of board designers don't do that. I wonder if my flight controller does that correctly. But anyway, When he says that he looked at the iFlight H7 flight controller and he's impressed with iFlight's design, that is really high praise. For the record, the other designer that he complimented in that same conversation was Newbie Drone. Apparently Newbie Drone, whoever's designing their flight controllers, he's impressed with. Siati is here. Hello, Siati. I'm going to see Siati next week. Siati, you're going to be around for Thanksgiving, right? I'm going to be around. I'm going to come down probably Thanksgiving Day, because, you know, what am I going to do? Go hang out with my family? So I'm going to be coming down probably Thanksgiving Day, and maybe Friday we'll go fly somewhere. So, you know, if you're up for it. Psych Limbo asks a very interesting question. If you check for power by putting one multimeter probe on VBAT and the other on 5 volts, what will happen? Psych Limbo, that should be fine. The multimeter itself should be a very high impedance connection. So you should never pop anything simply by touching the probes of the multimeter in different places. The multimeter itself should not allow any current to flow. Like mega ohms of impedance or something. Now, if you touch and you cross the probes so the probes short circuit something, that's different. But you will simply be measuring the voltage difference between VBAT and 5 volts. So if VBAT is 16 volts and you touch the multimeter to VBAT and 5 volts, you'll measure 11 volts, and that's the whole point of the multimeter. If you wanted to know what the difference between those two was, you'll be fine. If you're measuring amps, that's different. Amps, the multimeter is in circuit and letting current flow through it. And that's why most multimeters have a separate plug for measuring amps. So you can't accidentally do that. Randolph De Silva says, I saw your review of the Diatone Roma F4. Do you think the frame is good? Yeah. I actually really like the Diatone Roma F4 frame. The only thing I would say is the Roma F4 had some problems like with jello and with kind of like twitching. I think those things are probably due to the motors. However, I can't rule out the possibility that it's related to the frame. If the frame had a resonance problem or some kind of vibration problem, I don't think that's likely. I actually really like the Diatone Roma frame. I really like the Diatone Roma entirely, except that it flies badly. I saw Diatone post on their Facebook group some suggestions for changes to the ESC settings and to the PIDs. And I hope that Diatone, when Diatone saw that review, the head of the company reached out to me and was upset because Diatone puts a ton of work into their stuff, and then to have it not perform at the level that they wanted is disappointing and upsetting. And it shows the amount of dedication that Diatone puts in. I think you can tell the amount of dedication that Diatone puts into their products. That they're not just, there are some vendors you could look at. I'm not going to like point fingers, but you could probably imagine some vendors who kind of just crap out products to like, okay, we made a motor. Okay, we made a flight controller, whatever. And you don't feel like they like care. And it feels like Diatone really does care. Literally the day after I released, maybe 2 days after I released the review of the Diatone Roma, there was a post on the Diatone Facebook group saying, here are some suggested things you can do if you're having these problems. So I actually am confident that Diatone will get it right. I'm hopeful, let's say. Maybe not confident, but hopeful. And they definitely care. My gut feeling is it's related to the motors. I know Diatone makes good flight controllers. So what else could it be? When I spun the motors on the Diatone Roma, just to check the motor direction, they sounded a little noisy, and that would explain everything. I don't know. But I like the frame. I like the frame a lot. Huff19 says, my buddy has 3 Romas and they are beginning to glitch during flight. That's a bad sign. It could be motors. It could be bad bearings on the motors. Of all the things Diatone makes, I think that I have had the most problem with their motors. The M515 had 1806 motors on a 5-inch prop, and I felt like the bearing on one of them, I think, was bad, basically from the factory. But I feel like their flight controllers are pretty good. Oh, Blunty's here as well. Blunty, you came too late, man. Everybody was talking good things about you earlier. I mentioned you earlier, and everybody was chiming in with how much they liked you. Pez1343 says, can you do a travel video? What do you carry on the plane and what do you check? Pez, there are a couple short tips there. You have to carry on your batteries. You are not allowed to check your batteries. And the reason for that is if there's a battery fire, they don't want it to be down in the cargo hold where they can't do anything about it. Stinger Swarm used to be a commercial pilot, and he said that in the cargo hold, there is actually a fire suppression system. And if there's a fire in the cargo hold of a commercial plane, the pilot can push a button and the fire suppression will go off. But they can only do it once. And the problem with a LiPo fire is that the cells will go and then the next cell will go. So the problem is that you'll have the fire, you'll pop the fire suppression system, and then the LiPo will keep burning and keep lighting things on fire, at which point you're screwed. So they want you to carry your LiPos on. They don't want you to check them. I always check tools. In the United States, at least, any tool under 7 inches, like a screwdriver, is fine. It's allowed to be carried on. Obviously, not like a knife, but like a tool, pliers, etc., under 7 inches. But I always check my tools because if somebody had a problem and I lost my tools, I would be pretty bummed. So, yeah, so that's just it. I carry on. And then the other thing is whenever I travel, I always carry on. Like if I'm traveling for work, I never check my flight bag. Because if I show up at a Rotor Riot shoot and I don't have any quadcopters because TSA lost them, the whole point of me being there has been wasted. So I always carry on the things I need to do my job at the end of the trip. Quadcopters, controller, batteries, maybe, batteries maybe you could share with friends. A laptop, etc. Skadoosh says in China you can't carry tools on. Yeah, I think that's just the U.S. I would definitely check tools just for the risk of losing them. Broken Prop wants to know, is the Beta FPV VR1 a good goggle? It's okay. It's an okay goggle at a good price. Mustang Pilot reminds us that there is a 100 watt-hour limit. That's right. So 100 watt hours is the biggest battery you can carry on. That's a limit for a single battery, not for all batteries. Within the United States, at least, there is no limit to the number of batteries you can carry, but each battery must be less than 100 watt hours. For perspective, 100 watt hours is a 5,000 milliamp hour 5S. So your typical flight controller batteries, your typical quadcopter batteries, not even an issue. When will I review the Fat Shark Attitude V6? Asks Mohammed Alafalakawi. I tried. An attempt was made. I don't know about that. I am not, I hate to say this, I'm not, super excited to review it. It is a nice... So the Fat Shark Attitude V6 is a 1280 by 960 goggle with a... What's the field of view? It's a good field of view, but not as good as the HDO2, obviously. Let me look it up so I get it right. Oh, it's up on GetFPV. Isn't that nice? GetFPV, by the way, is still... Oh, good. They changed it. So they were advertising it as having OLED displays. That is not correct. It's LCOS displays. The field of view is 1280 by 960 Where's the field of view? Where's the FOV? Where is it? 39 degrees. So that's respectable. 39 degrees, 1280 by 960 LCOS display. So those specs are very respectable for 350 bucks. I'm hard pressed to think of another goggle for 350 bucks that, like, what else is out there in that price range? The Sky Zone, Sky O2C. The Sky O2C is $275, way cheaper. It's like $75 cheaper. What are the specs though? So that's 854 by 480. So that's a widescreen 640 by 480 basically. So much lower resolution. And the FOV is only 30 degrees. So like I feel like this is easily a $75 better goggle than the Attitude V6, than the SkyZone Sky O2C, right? Way bigger screen, way higher resolution. I prefer the 4:3 aspect ratio. Not everybody agrees with that. And the LCOS display is okay. It's not as good as OLED, but it's okay. The big question, I think, is would you rather have an Eachine EV300O? Now, an EV300O has only 1280 by 720 resolution, but still, is that right? That's a 16:9 resolution. I'm sorry. 1024 by 768. I apologize. It's a 1024 by 768 resolution. So not as good a resolution, but still, it's still enough to display a 720p image, which is what your typical high-def system is going to be. So it's enough resolution. And the FOV is 38 degrees, so just a little smaller than the Attitude V6. But it's an OLED screen. So the question you got to ask, I think, is, do you want to pay, oh my God, $500? No. That's not right. They're not $500. They're $450. This is incorrect. Nobody's selling these. Don't buy these for $500 because the Sky Zone is also $500. The Sky Zone is also $500. Yeah, so the Eachine EV300O is $450, which is $100 more than the Fat Shark Attitude V5. But you get you're basically paying for the OLED screen. In addition, the Sky Zone has a much better integrated. I think I would bet that the module on the Sky Zone is going to be better than the Fat Shark, because the module on the Sky Zone and the Eachine almost held its own against a rapid fire, and I'm just going to bet that the Fat Shark module doesn't do that. And the whole interface on the Sky Zone and the Eachine is super nice, but it's $100 more, and a lot of people aren't going to want to pay that. So that's my little mini review of the Attitude V6. SkyZone Sky 04, the Sky 04X is $430. Where do you see the? Oh my God! Wait a minute. This has got to be a sale. What the F? That's a ridiculously good price. Is that everywhere? No. No. That's ridiculous. Let's look around. Everybody has them listed at $500. I think Newbie Drone is having a sale. If you actually can get them at a price of $424, that's preposterous. Hang on. Let me make an affiliate link here. I'm going to paste this right in the chat. That's a stupidly good price. I mean, if you are in the market to spend $400 on analog goggles in 2020, that's a stupidly good price. Because that is I think it's a 46 degree field of view, 1280 by 960, OLED screen with the Sky Zone interface is very nice. That's just, that's ridiculous. Anyway, there you go. M. Arbruster says, Albert Kim said the Skyo 4X is way better than the HDO2 and the EV300O. As far as the HDO2 goes, I mean, I would say it's better. In terms of the goggles alone, I would say the Skyo 4X is better. The user interface, let's just say that it has one. Fat Shark basically doesn't have a user interface, so to speak of. I mean, it was like a menu for the DVR, but it's really basic and just really not polished at all. The image quality, I think, is very similar between them. The big thing that Fat Shark brings to the table is service centers on 4 continents. So, but the Sky Zones are, I would take Sky Zone, and the module on the Sky Zones is actually close enough to a rapid fire that I might, if I bought the Sky Zones, I might not spend the additional money on a rapid fire and just use it. But Aber the Ham, and this is the thing everybody's got to ask themselves, if you're going to spend $400 on analog goggles, should you just be buying DJI? EV300D is not, is that the same? I don't think it's the same resolution as the Attitude V6. I don't think that's right. I think Attitude V6 is 1280 by 960. And the EV300D is lower. Yeah, Attitude V6 is 1280 by 960. The EV300D is... No, the EV300O, rather. 1024 by 768. Can you use the Fat Shark Attitude V5 with a TBS Crossfire receiver? Avocado Miner, that question doesn't make sense. You're comparing apples and oranges. The Attitude V5 is a video goggle. The Crossfire receiver is for the control link. So one is for the video link, one is for the control link. So... when will the Shark Bite pre-orders ship? I have no insight into that, Jeremy Sarge. I'm sure that Fat Shark wants to get them out as soon as possible. Robert Myers, thank you for a $5 super chat. Micro long range flips out on punch outs. Can you help diagnose the issue? Afraid it will crash at GPS rescue. Here's a 30-second video. Well, we'll watch the video, but I have a feeling I know what we're going to see. It's a Rickroll. No. Let's watch the video. We're going to get audio.
Flies fine with a 700 milliamp 3S LiPo. But with the heavier lithium ion pack 3-cell, it does this on punch outs.
So the ESC reset, the key thing is, I'd love to see the OSD so I could watch the battery voltage. The key thing is, you said the ESC reset. I'm not sure if I heard that, but I trust you. I'm going to guess that there's so much sag on that lithium ion that it's the voltage is dropping. That's my guess. Motors are 3,700 kV. It should be okay. It just depends on the quality of that pack. Can you do it? Here's what I would do.
With a 700 milliamp 3S
yeah.
LiPo. But with the heavier lithium ion.
Yeah. So you said it was okay with the regular LiPo, but on the lithium ion, it tanks out. My guess is that the lithium ion can't handle the amp draw. I would look in the OSD and look at what the battery voltage does. Wow. Slappy1 points out the Cadix Vista is $126 on Newbie Drone. Jeez. That's a stupidly good price for a Vista. I just paid like $150 for 4 of them well, they were out of stock, so I just was like, anybody who has them, can I please have them? Oh, wow. What the F? Okay, now, I mean, I hate the Cadix Nebula, but For $106, I might think about it. Caddx Vista, $126. That is stupidly good. Newbie Drone's Thanksgiving sale is ridiculous. Look, here's another affiliate link. Help me out. N3F Range asks, will I get more flight time if I add 2 more cells to my self-made 18650 4S battery? So you're basically going from 4S to 6S. You're going to be adding a lot more weight. If you don't change your motor KV, then no. Because you're basically going to be increasing the motor RPM. But who cares? You get the RPM you need. If you go to a lower KV motor and you go to a higher voltage battery, you probably will get more flight time, but that's tough to say. It really depends on the quality of the cells. When you're working with 18650 cells, you really need to keep the amp draw as low as possible, and that's where the 6S might help you, because the higher voltage will result in lower amps. Anti-Pop FPV says, sometimes when using lithium ion, you need to lower the ESC voltage cutoff because lithium ion can run down to lower volts. Also, don't do big punch outs with lithium ion. Yeah. Any multi-rotor ESC should not have a low voltage cutoff from the factory, Anti-Pop. As long as you're not using airplane ESCs, there is no low voltage cutoff. I mean, BL Heli supports the existence of a low voltage cutoff, but they ship with it turned off by default. I mean, eventually the voltage gets low enough that the ESC reboots. Aber the Ham says, if higher voltage means lower amps, why do 6S ESCs always run such high amperage? Aber, so assuming a constant amount of work being done, assuming a constant number of watts, then higher voltage means lower amps. That's true. So if you need... let's say you need 700 watts to hover your quadcopter. I actually have no idea if that's even a reasonable number. I just pulled it out of my butt. So let's say you need 700 watts to hover your quadcopter. If you do that on 4S, it will take, well, you could just do the math. 700 divided by 16 volts equals so many amps. And if you do that on 6S, you'll have lower amps. The reason that 6S ESCs have such high amp ratings is marketing. ESCs with higher amp ratings are seen as more trustworthy and more durable. So the amp rating is a maximum rating. You could build a 6S ESC with a lower amp rating and get away with it, but nobody wants to do that because people like to see big amp ratings on their ESCs, and so marketers drive those numbers up. Are those numbers honest and accurate? That's a very good question. And another good question is, do you need them? If your quadcopter is pulling 35 amps at a cruise, do you need a 55 amp rated ESC? Probably not. But, I mean, it's good to have headroom. So, yeah. Jeremy Sarge asks, I have a new toothpick build. The motors get hot even when spinning in the Betaflight Motors tab. Check the motor screws, no contact. Any other ideas? Jeremy Sarge, if they get hot from the motors tab, then that 100% means it is an issue with the ESC and the electricity. It is not an issue with the PIDs or the filters, because the PIDs and the filters are not active when you spin from the motors tab. You say you check the motor screws, no contact. I think that means you check them visually. What I would suggest you do is back those screws out. Back them out till the motor is loose and until the screw head is definitely below the surface of the motor base, and then try again. And if it still happens, well, then it's not the screws, but it's something else like that. Check for hot spots on the frame. If there's current flowing through the frame, you'll get a hot spot there. Yeah, those are some things to think about. Rocket wants to know, what GoPro would you say is the best value for the money? Thank you, Rocket, for being a patron. Rocket asked that question in the Discord server, and if you want to get in on the Discord server, you can become a patron. There's a link in the video description. The minimum amount is $2 a month. Do you think I earn $2? For as little as the price of a cup of coffee every month, you can ensure that this YouTuber is able to keep making videos. So join that Patreon and get to hang out in the Discord and play Among Us with me. Listen. What's the best value? GoPro. I feel like I'm going to look on Amazon. I feel like, so here's a Hero 7, brand new for $229. Can I get a refurbished one? Hello? What the F? Refurbished. Can I get a refurbished? Hero 6, no. Hero 8 renewed. Oh, wow. That's compelling. How about a Hero 7 refurbished? Why can't I get a Hero 7 refurb? Alrighty. Well, that's pretty weird. $229 for a Hero 7 to me feels like a pretty sweet place to be. The problem with the Hero 8 is it definitely has better image quality, but it's heavier and it has a fixed lens. You can't interchange the lens. So I'm not sure about that. $243 though is it does have, if you're going to shoot at 4K, the Hero 8 definitely does have better image quality. So if you're not as concerned about weight and durability, like if you're doing cinematic stuff, the Hero 8 is well worth it. It also has way better image stabilization. For freestyle, I'm settled right now on the Hero 7. I swear I've bought refurbished Hero 7s for a little bit less than this, although I can't find one right now. And I feel like the balance of durability versus the other thing to keep in mind though is if you choose to use the Best Buy warranty system, then the best one is whatever you can get from Best Buy. Because the Best Buy warranty is basically $60 for a new GoPro. However, as we talked about in the news this week, Best Buy has started sending the GoPros out before they'll cover them to see if they can be repaired. So, you know, a month ago I would have said, just go to Best Buy, buy whatever they've got, buy the insurance, and then when you break it, not if, but when you break it, go get another one, and you can't beat that. So, but if you have to just buy them, and by the way, you can get Assurion warranties or insurance on Amazon. So I feel like the Hero 7 is the place to be. The lost in the electrical aisle. The problem with the GoPro insurance is you only get 2 a year. Now, if 2 a year is enough for you, that's fine. But for some people, 2 a year is nowhere near enough. You can replace, you're right, Milwaukee John, you can replace the glass on the Hero 8. It's not as easy on the 7 as on the 7. And like I said, the 8 is heavier and more expensive. Zanakis FPV, thanks for a $15 super chat. It's Darts, thanks for a $5 super chat. My TBS card doesn't have a firmware folder. Can I just add the folder from Windows? Yes, you absolutely can. However, I'm kind of surprised it's not there. But yeah, I would just add it. Triprot, thanks for a $5 super chat. Fly High FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. Trying to go all digital, here's my shopping list. GepRC Baby Croc with Caddx Vista, I approve. GepRC Phantom HD, I don't know a lot about that one. iFlight Chimera 7 HD, good. I think that's probably good. All Crossfire, yep, I like it. Except for the Phantom, I don't know a lot about the Phantom. It might be good. I guess I'm kind of confused why you're getting the Phantom and the Baby Croc. They seem really similar. Let me look them up again. Excuse me. Pardon me. What's the that's a toothpick. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I would buy the Baby Croc and the Phantom. Not that they seem to have a lot of overlap. I would probably save my money on the Phantom, get the Baby Croc, which I do like. and spend that money somewhere else. Aber the Ham said, I didn't know that, Aber. Aber says the GoPro insurance isn't bad. If you break more than 3 GoPros per year and you're not a pro, you need to fly better. Interesting. $50 a year for the insurance, and it comes with unlimited cloud storage. Wow, that is nice, actually. Craze Canuck wants to know my thought on the Shocker. Craze Canuck, the Catalyst Machine Works Shocker, as I started getting into comparing it to the micro 4-inch long-range quads you can kind of sort of see on the bench behind me, I realized the Shocker is not a micro 4-inch long-range. The Catalyst Machine Works Shocker started as a lightweight 5-inch build. So it would be more correct to compare the Shocker to like the Beta FPV X-Night. And then they built a 4-inch version of it. So the 4-inch Shocker is a 4-inch version of a lightweight 5-inch quad, and it doesn't really compare. It is more powerful, more durable, and heavier than any of those 4-inch long-range quads. So I was talking to Catalyst Machine Works, and I was like, you know, this is the wrong box to put the Shocker into. So the Shocker is not in my 4-inch long-range roundup. I am going to review it, and I am going to fly both the 4-inch and the 5-inch. But in addition, I think the Catalyst may try to come out with a lighter, like, why does the Shocker not have like 2mm carbon? Like all these 4-inch long-range quads, they go with like 2, maybe 2.5mm carbon because like you're not expected to crash it very much. And the Shocker doesn't do that. So I still haven't tested the Shocker, but it's not going to be in the 4-inch long-range build for that reason. Is the Shocker over 250 grams? Mustang Pilot 1. Yeah, exactly. So the 4-inch Shocker, obviously the Shocker is just a frame. You can build it a number of different ways. For example, Catalyst Machine Works builds the Shocker with 2004 motors and a 20mm flight control stack. Most of these other guys are using 1404 motors, which saves weight. And they're using, probably, some of them are using a 25mm flight controller, an all-in-one flight controller to save additional weight. So the 4-inch Shocker that Catalyst Machine Works built for me to review is close to 200 grams dry without a battery. You can get the Shocker under 250 grams, but it would be a whole lot easier if they had designed the frame with more of a focus on weight. That is just not there. When they designed the Shocker, it feels to me like they were shooting for like a 300 to 350 gram 5-inch. And so that's just not where these 4-inch long-range builds are at. Robert Myers. We got you, Robert. Yeah. Would you recommend the DJI upgrade over getting a GoPro? Asks Rocket. I mean, that's the DJI. I mean, the problem is that let's say you have let's say you have $500 to spend right now. And you're thinking maybe I'll get a Hero 9 or maybe I'll get DJI. Well, DJI is going to be more than $500. And the thing is, DJI is also going to cost you $100. Well, we just saw the frickin' Nebula for $106 on Newbie Drone, but that's unusual. On average, DJI is going to cost you between, let's say, $140 to $160 for the air unit and the camera, or the Vista and the camera per quad. So I don't think that DJI takes the place of a GoPro if what you need is a GoPro, but I do think that DJI DVR is more than enough for like just a fun flyer. And you could absolutely leave your GoPro off and still get fine video that you can use to post to YouTube or post to Instagram. No one's going to be impressed, but they're not going to like look at it and go, what is this garbage, like they do with analog. But it's going to be way more expensive. Is the Crocodile Baby 4-inch compatible with the Fat Shark Attitude V5? Asks FPV Noob. I mean, if it's the analog version, sure. Any analog FPV goggle will work with any analog video transmitter. All right. Streets FPV, I agree. DJI videos saved me hundreds in GoPros. I still have a GoPro, but you don't have to put a GoPro on for every rip. Absolutely, Streets FPV. Like, I will, if I'm flying at a new environment, a lot of times I'll do some practice flights. Or maybe I'm trying to hit a particular gap, but I haven't lined the gap up yet. Well, if I were... You ever seen like in a Rotoride video where they lose the camera and it fails over to DVR? Well, with DJI, when you fail over to DVR, it doesn't look so bad. GoPro looks better, but DJI is definitely usable. A Day at the Range is talking about, you know, guys remember A Day at the Range? Hang on. Where did he send that? Hang on. A Day at the Range is the guy who claimed that he built something that lets you get HDMI output from your, from your DJI goggles. I'm trying to find this email he sent me. I'm failing to find it. There it is. And you guys were very skeptical. You guys said, this guy's full of it. And then they said, you said, show me proof that he did this. And then he said, well, I can't show you the proof. DJI bought the technology from me to keep me from releasing it. He claims that DJI paid him a big chunk of money and like gave him 10 DJI goggles. He's given him, he was at least, may still be, giving them away over on his YouTube channel. Well, this guy is a freaking mad lad extraordinaire, because he sent me an email yesterday saying, hey, buddy, it's me again. I made another way of getting HDMI output from the DJI goggles. And I said, didn't they pay you not to do that? And he said, well, I mean, they paid that one. I came up with another way of doing it. And that they didn't buy that one from me. So he sent me this video, which demonstrates, according to him, another way of getting HDMI out of the stupid goggles. And I guess they're going to have to pay him off again. This guy just keeps cracking their goggles. He said, I ran it by my lawyer. They only bought that one thing. I did a different thing. I don't know, man. Anyway, for everybody who was skeptical, this sure, I mean, no, it's fake. He's faking it. I don't know. It sure looks like he's demonstrating HDMI output from the goggles, though. Release it. Why would he release it? DJI is just going to pay him another chunk of money. And this time DJI will put in the damn contract that he can't do it anymore. You didn't say I couldn't find a different way. Hey, listen. Hey, I figured out a way to break into your building. Okay, listen. I'm going to give you $5,000 and I don't want you to tell anybody about that. Okay. Hey, guess what? I found another way to break in. Hey, okay. I mean, sure. He says he's going to release it. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. What a freaking, I cannot, like, I feel like mad lad is absolutely the right word for this. What a mad lad. Archimedes says if DJI pays him off again, that means V2 goggle with HDMI out is coming. Wouldn't that be amazing? They're like, hey, I'm gonna pay you, but you gotta not tell anybody how to open this door. And he's like, okay, but there's another lock on the door. Can I crack that one? And they're like, you son of a. Yeah, does it need a custom firmware, man? What's the deal? It's got to need a custom firmware, right? Does it need a custom firmware? That's the big question. The easiest way to stop someone... Listen. The easiest way to stop someone from cracking your hardware is to release the feature that they want. Remember Napster? You guys... A lot of you guys don't remember Napster because you're freaking babies. I mean that literally in terms of your age, not in terms of your temperament. Napster. People were downloading music on Napster. And the music labels were like, stop our income stream. We want to sell you CDs. Well, I mean, then they came up with streaming services. And now look, does anybody download music off Napster anymore? No. You just have your freaking Apple Music or your Google Music or whatever, Spotify. So they just need to release the freaking product. Stock Racing Club, thanks for a $10 super chat. I have a friend that has a Phantom 4, a Mavic Air, and a Mavic Air 2. He wants to get an FPV. Can he use any of his DJI controllers to fly an air unit? No, the answer is no. You have to use the DJI controller, or you can use any other standard RC controller if you install a receiver. A Day at the Range says the problem with this method is I'm sure they can block it with a firmware update. Absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing. You just have to stop updating your firmware forever. Let's see. Did he answer? He says the Raspberry Pi and an APK. No mod to goggles, just hardware. So he must be like reading the data stream. We know that the goggles can output data over USB. He must just be, it must not be like encrypted or anything. Anyway. Come on, DJI. Just do it. Just do it. Thank you, Tripod, for a $5 super chat. Got a question about video cutting out and coming back. What do we got here? We got nothing. Oh, that's horrible. Got some audio noise here. Tripod has problems with his video cutting out. Let's see if we can find where it happens. Oh, there it went. All right, so the fact that it goes to static means your video transmitter lost power. The fact that I don't see... Why do you not have battery voltage in your OSD? Put battery voltage. How could you fly with a freaking flight timer and an air mode, but no battery voltage? You need... Oh, there it is. Thank you. Okay, great. My bad. I take it back. 13.6 volts. We see land now and low battery. Low battery, 13.9, and then it goes out. I sincerely doubt... I mean, the video transmitter should not drop out at 13 volts. It should be able to run on higher than that. But my guess is that the battery just dropped out on you. Let's look at another one. Lost in the Electrical Aisle says USB-C natively contains HDMI out, or DisplayPort rather. Lost in the Electrical Aisle, be careful. USB-C, I mean, that's just because you have a USB-C plug on a peripheral does not mean it is fully implementing every part of the whole USB protocol. So just because the DJI goggles have a USB-C plug doesn't mean they implement HDMI out or DisplayPort. In fact, DJI has told me that the goggles do not have an HDMI bridge, and so they cannot output video over USB-C natively. What they do is they output a video stream via, like, people have told me it's Ethernet over USB, and so they're outputting basically an H.264 or something stream, but they don't have DisplayPort support. That's a fact. All right, let's look at another one. Okay, it's gone already. Okay, there's nothing useful there. It just powered up. Taken off. What's going on? Why is the video so black? I don't know about that. 14 volts, low battery, 14 volts, low battery, 13 volts, didn't drop out there. Nothing happened. He just landed. So nothing happened there. All right. So the only thing I see in these videos, Tripod, is that at the moment that it dropped out, you were punching the throttle and I'm going to guess your battery dropped out. I don't know, man. That's, it shouldn't, the video transmitter shouldn't lose power at 13 volts. But the fact that it happened right when you were punching the throttle and the voltage got low seems like it can't be a coincidence. If it ever happens when the battery's fully charged, then I would lean towards a broken wire that's being shaken by the vibration as making you lose power. That's my guess. Okay. Thank you for the super chat. Penguins Can Fly. Thanks for 10 pounds. I don't know why I'm saying pounds for euros today. Thanks for 10 euros. The Chimera 4 with Crossfire is great, but I'm getting some jello. Any good advice? I didn't have a ton of jello on my Chimera. So I can only speak for myself. If you have the Caddx Nebula camera, it's possible that it's related. I've heard some people report that the Nebula has worse jello than the Vista. I would also, of course, check the props in the motors. If you've ever crashed or have messed up props, it could be an issue. Other than that, I don't know. Manuel Smeets wants to know, Manuel had a video, or Manuel, maybe Manuel. Either way, he had a Squirt burn a Flat Rat 2800 kV motor on 6S. The motors didn't get hot at all. What could cause the motors to burn? I mean, if you had a bad ESC with a damaged FET, that would smoke a motor. Here's how to know. If you replace the motor and then immediately the motor smokes again, the ESC is bad. If you replace the motor, definitely use a smoke stopper the first time you spin the motor. And what will happen is if you raise the throttle all the way, the smoke stopper will go off because you're pulling current by spinning the motor. But if the minute you start to raise the throttle, the smoke stopper just goes full bright, that's an ESC with a blown FET. There you go. Nathan T in the Discord wants to know, I've had 2 HackRC ESCs pop and smoke. What's the difference between these 2 types of failures? In one of them, it smoked 2 motors, but the firmware still worked. On the other, the firmware no longer detects. Okay, so an ESC has 2 sort of parts. One is the drive segment, which involves the FETs, which are used to actually run high current and drive the motor. One is the logic segment, which is a microprocessor that basically, like your flight controller, has a microprocessor, and it handles all the sort of thinking and logic. If the logic segment dies, then you cannot read the ESC anymore. If the power or the output part dies, you can still read the ESC, it just won't spin the motors or it'll fry the motors. Either way, I probably would not buy the HackRC ESCs anymore if you have 2 dead ones, unless you have a good reason. Siati says, I never thought to use a smoke stopper when spinning up a motor like that. Yeah, so this is a case, Siati, where a light bulb is better than like a solid state, because a solid state smoke stopper, the minute you pass the threshold, it trips and you're done. But a light bulb, as you spin the motor faster, the light bulb slowly lights up. And so you can spin the motor at 10 or 15% throttle, and the light bulb will kind of be on, but everything will be fine. If you keep raising the throttle, then the voltage drops and the whole quad resets. But with a bad FET, the minute the ESC goes to spin the motor, immediately it just drives full current through the motor and the motor fries. So if with a smoke stopper, you can start to raise the throttle, and if the motor goes beep, 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 then you're fine. But if it goes boop, wah, and the smoke stopper goes full bright, then you got a bad FET. Anyway. Jonas, on the Runcam Phoenix 2, the blue wire coming out of the plug is not used on that camera. It's a standard wire for other Runcam cameras as well. And on those cameras, it's used for battery voltage sense, but it's not used. The Phoenix doesn't need that feature, so it's just not used. You can just cut it off or remove it. It's 2:55 p.m. We're 5 minutes to the end of the stream. Aaron Ciotti of PV, is in the chat, and he is going to be streaming at 3 p.m. He got his YouTube channel back, everybody. Ciotti, somebody copy struck his YouTube channel last week, and he was not able to stream, but he talked to them and got them to take away the strike and forgive him. And now he is back. He is streaming Simulator Sunday. And he'll be streaming at 3 p.m. He's going to post the link to his stream if you want to keep watching. If you love streaming and can't get enough. I'm going to be going for just another couple minutes here. Thank you guys for coming out. If you like the t-shirt that I've got, you can purchase it from my Teespring store. Every month, actually, I think I forgot to do November. November's been crazy. I failed. Every month-ish, I feature a new FPV artist. This one is from 0.1 FPV. It's a great design. You can get this shirt, hoodies, etc. at my Teespring store. It's linked above the chat. Duncan Pope wants to know, do I watch Corridor Crew? Why did that come up? I do watch Corridor Crew, but why? What's your go-to SodaStream flavor? Andrew Smith wants to know. Iced tea and lemonade is my favorite. Thank you so much to my patrons in the Discord. We're going to be playing Among Us in just a minute. A little more than a minute. So it was 3 different motors that burned. Manuel. If it was 3 different motors on 3 different positions, I mean, it could still be a bad ESC. It would just have multiple bad ESCs. Those flat wrap motors, I mean, are your motor screws touching the windings? Could that be it? That would definitely cause that problem. Maybe your motor screws are too long, and that's why. Thank you so much, Lost in the Electrical Aisle. Apparently you offered me a Hack RF1. What is the Hack RF1? What's a Hack RF1? You offered me one of these? Software-defined radio peripheral capable of transmission or reception from 1 megahertz to 6 gigahertz. I appreciate you offering me one. I have no idea what I would do with this. I have no idea what I would do with this. It looks cool. I think you should offer it to someone who would get a lot of use out of it. I don't remember you offering me it. I mean, I probably did. Lost in the Electrical Aisle, you sound a little salty, dude. I didn't answer your offer to send me this Hack RF1, just like you offered to design a website for me. Here's the thing. And then I'm 1 minute away from going off the air. If you offer me something for free, I appreciate the offer. If you say I'll do some work for you, I appreciate that. I appreciate your generosity. But if I don't take you up on the offer, then don't get salty about it. Like if I say to you, Ciotti, I'm gonna go slightly long because I'm gonna rant for a minute. If I say to you, hey man, I got a pizza here. You got pineapple all over it. Do you want a piece of pizza? And you go, nah, no, thank you. All right, cool. Yeah, thanks for offering. See, that's fine. But if I go, hey, you go want a piece of pizza, and you go, no, thank you, and I go, well, what's your freaking problem? Whoa. I'm exaggerating, Lost in the Electrical Aisle. You're not being like that. My point is that when you make an offer, If it's a sincere offer and the answer is no, hey, you know, life goes on. Thank you for the offer. But if you respond to the no with by being, you know, getting your feelings hurt or something, then it wasn't a sincere offer, was it? So, like, did you offer to design a website for me? I got to tell you, maybe I didn't take you up on it because the website you offered to make isn't the website that I wanted. Maybe I didn't take you up on it because I wasn't ready at that moment for me to put my attention into that project. Like, I'm doing 57 things at any given moment, and there's 62 more that I want to do. So just because I mentioned on a live stream I'd like to do this thing, and you were like, hey, I could do that for you, it still means I have to stop what I'm doing and work with you to make it happen. Or maybe, and this is something I've learned the hard way, taking free labor from people actually is a terrible way to get things done. Now, that's not true all the time. Like Bastian Sonderman, you made the black box sticks exporter, and it's amazing, and you did it. I said, this is great. I think I offered to like pay you for it because it's just cool. I can't remember if I did or not. I sometimes do that. And you were like, no, thank you. I'm happy. There's another guy who did a thing that checks the links on my website. And he was like, hey, I could do this. But the key thing is that you guys just did it. And I didn't really have to interact with you at all. And it didn't cost me anything. But a lot of times when people do stuff for free, it's very, very hard to actually get what you want out of them. Because if you're working for free and I go, well, I don't like what you did. And you're like, well, too bad. But if I'm paying you, then I get, you know, anyway. So if you offered to set this HackRF thing, I don't know what this is. It could be the coolest thing in the world. Let me just throw this on my schedule, which is already full of 700 videos that I have to make. So the fact that you offered this to me and I didn't take you up on it, your generosity is so appreciated. I appreciate your generosity, but you don't understand. It's not like I sit around all day going, what am I going to do today? I sure wish I could think of an idea to make. So it's just not, it wasn't a good time to take you up on it. So don't be salty about it, okay? If you're not salty, then I take it all back. Because I feel bad. I feel bad. Because like I feel bad that there are people out there who sincerely want to help me. And I can't take them up on it. Because the things that I want to do would require me to manage you doing them for me. Which is, like, if there's a project I want to complete, and I go, I don't have time for this. And you say, well, I'll do it for you. And I go, oh, shit, it turns out I don't even have time to manage you doing it. You go, well, God, I said I would do it, and he didn't take me up on it. It's not you. It's me. I just can't. Anyway. All right. Lost Electrical Isle says, I don't even think he got the message. I apologize, man. I'm not trying to call you out, but I guess I kind of am a little bit. It just bugs me that you would think that anybody out there would be like, man, I tried to help him, and he didn't take it up on me. And then you think like it's something about, like, it's not you. I appreciate your generosity. I'm just not in a position to take you up on it. I guess that's the takeaway. That's it. And especially when people offer to send me things. I don't have time to play with all the toys I have. The idea that you're going to send me a thing. Here's what's going to happen. And then I'm going to let Ciati do a stream. You're going to send me this freaking HackRF one. It's going to sit in a box on my shelf for 6 months. And every time I look at it, I'm going to go, oh, man, I really should be messing with that. Oh, but I got all this other shit I got to do. It's just going to freaking freak me out and give me anxiety forever because I'm not messing with it. Anyway. Okay. Anyway. Ciati, you son of a... You sent me a freaking quadcopter. But I like... you know... Ciati I know well enough. At least when he sends me something, I'm like, okay, let's see what's going on here. But you sent me something... You sent me... The thing is... You sent me something that I was like, oh, okay, there's a new tune on this. And I can use it to make a video. It's like, okay, I'll give it a go. But anyway, that's going to do it for the stream. I apologize for kind of ranting about you. I ranted in your direction, lost in the electrical aisle. I don't mean to be negative or hate on you. I did rant a little bit in your direction, but it's not just about you. It's just about my own neurotic nature. I appreciate your generosity. I appreciate it, but I'm just not in a position to take you up on it. So there you go. That's going to do it for the stream. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern time for the evening stream. Happy flanking, guys. Have a good stream, Siati.